Usually, most of the bands I've played in, I'm usually the only guitar player. So anything that kind of fills the sound a little more, I think is good.
Is that a thing you do on purpose? Not to say that it's a Duane only club, but
right.
Is that kind of by design for you?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. You mean to be the only guitar player or to use that sound? No, but I have to say, most of the bands where I've played with other guitar players, I just don't like it as much. I just don't. Because usually, if the other guy is kind of strumming and rhythm guitar and playing fairly standard chord shapes and things, and so if you try to do something on top of it, you end up just doing a different inversion of the same chord, or if you try to do something tricky, a lot of times it doesn't sound right, and it's usually a singer who's strumming away. By saying this, I'm basically never going to get a gig as just a sideman, but then again, I don't usually get those anyway. Nobody wants me.
You get a day job anyways, Duane. You have a tendency to work with really, I don't want to say flamboyant, but very extreme lead singers in a way that interact with the guitar in the band. Obviously David gets his reputation for crowd, but even just his vocal delivery that is so dynamic, and then obviously Mike, who does everything from video games to operas. So how do you get drawn to those characters, and how do you feel that helps invigorate, guitar playing in the band as a whole?
I just feel like that's kind of how it's worked out for me, even going back to the 80s. When I lived in Austin, Texas, I was in a band, Cargo Cult, that put an album up, and our singer was a guy named Biscuit, who was a flamboyant guy from the band called the Big Boys, one of the early punk rock bands, and he was openly flamboyant in a time when people weren't.
Yeah.
And so there's always been that. And then David Yao, Mike Patton, Hank Williams III is not your average guy that you see walking down the street.
Yeah.
J.D. Wilkes from the legendary Shack Shakers. I think part of it is just, that's what I like when I see bands, and when I see rock bands, or whether it's a punk rock band or hard rock or metal, whatever, I expect the singer to be over the top in some ways, at least, or be unique, have a personality. And part of it is just, it fills the part of, to me, my personality that isn't necessarily there. I've always been a fairly serious musician. I take it seriously, I practice, I study. I like to laugh and hang out and do stupid stuff too, just like anyone, but I take the music seriously, and I just know that if you have a band where everyone is like that, it's not necessarily going to be entertaining.
Yeah.
And think, how many times have you seen bands where it just seemed too serious, where everyone, they're all really good, they're all really serious, but I want something crazy to happen. I want someone to fall down. I want something to break.
Yeah.
I'll go to a rock show and I'll think, that singer didn't scream once. What kind of show is it? What kind of rock show is that he didn't scream once in the whole set? No. Even when they're great singers, and I admire people who are great singers too, but this is different. And so for me, for a rock band, let's put it this way. If I were an actor, I think I would be a very good supporting actor. But I don't see myself as a leading man.
Yeah.
And I know this.
That's a good way to put it.
And I think a lot of guys make that mistake. And there's only one Jeff Beck in the world who can get up on that stage and just with his guitar command your attention and keep it over the course of an evening, over the course of a career.
Yeah.
Other guys try to do it and they fail. There's only a handful of people who can do it, and I think, I play pretty good, I write pretty well, all that, but I'm not necessarily the one that thousands of people are going to throw money down to go see every night, and that's the difference. And so I've always thought that I need to be in bands with those kind of guys.
Have you always had that awareness? Because as a guitar player, some guys lack that.
Always.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever maybe verbalized it quite so eloquently.
Yeah.
But in the early days, that's the kind of bands I liked. And I knew that I'm not that guy, so let's find someone who is. And that's just kind of how it's worked out.